The Legend of the Lizard Prince. There was a great kingdom led by a just and wise king. The king had 7 daughters. All of them are beautiful and attractive. The king's 7 daughters grew up in age. Surprisingly, the 7 daughters did not show their desire to get married immediately. The king became sad-hearted. He wanted to see his daughters get married before he died. However, when the king's will was conveyed, the king's 7 daughters gave the same reason, said the eldest princess who represented her 6 younger siblings. Sorry, father, we are not yet interested in getting married because we haven't found someone who deserves to be our husband. We want our future husband to be young men who are not only handsome in appearance but also have high supernatural powers. What kind of supernatural powers do you want? Asked the king. The young man should be able to build a very magnificent palace across the river, said the eldest princess. The king then held the contest. For a young man who is able to build a magnificent palace across the river, then he has the right to marry his daughters. A few days later, 6 dozen young men came who expressed the ability to, to fulfill the king's contest. They immediately worked hard and shoulder to build a palace across the river. The 6 of them mastered their supernatural powers, so they could build a magnificent palace in no time. The palace was complete and decorated with a very beautiful garden. The king and his 7 others looked satisfied to see the magnificent palace. However, the king was a little disappointed because there was no bridge connecting his palace with that magnificent palace. The king finally returned to announce his competition. Anyone who is able to build a large bridge connection. Youngest princess smiled. He replied, Father, actually the word of a king should be fulfilled. The promise of a king should be kept. If your father has promised that the winner of the contest will marry one of us, then let that to be done too. If all of my older siblings are not willing, then I am willing to marry a lizard, the son of that woman's mother. So, marriage, but the youngest princess accepts it sincerely. When the night after the wedding party ended, the youngest daughter slept in her room with the monitor lizard. The youngest daughter immediately fell asleep because she was tired. While the monitor lizard slowly climbed down the bed. When midnight came, youngest princess suddenly woke up. She was very surprised he, when she found a very handsome man lying beside her. She also shouted loudly by mentioning the existence of a strange young man in his room. The soldier immediately came to the youngest daughter's room. They were amazed when they found that there was no foreign yacht mentioned by the youngest prince. The youngest princess herself was also astonished that the young foreign had suddenly disappeared. The incident made the youngest princess feel very curious. He was not dreaming when she found a handsome young man lying next to him. So, who is this handsome young man? Why was the young man able to really enter his room without the guards not noticing? Where's, where is her husband who is in the form of a lizard? The youngest princess felt she had revealed this big secret. The next night, he pretended to be asleep in that waking state. He felt a presence. A man lying beside with time is ticking. Moments later, an old woman came to the royal palace. He brought a monitor lizard. The old woman then turned to the king and said, "Excuse me, sir, the arrival of this servant facing your majesty to answer your majesty competition. My son is able to make a big bridge like you want. The contest is open to anyone, including your child, old mother," replied the king. "Even though I'm just a poor person, I don't discriminate. If your son is able to build that bridge, surely I will marry him to one of my daughters." In the presence of the king and also the royal courtiers, the old woman then spoke to the monitor lizard she was carrying. "My son, you have heard the king's word yourself, haven't you? Now prove your ability to fulfill his majesty's will." The kind, the king and all those present at the royal palace all were astonished when they found out that the old woman's child was a monitor lizard. The more amazed they were when they heard the monitor lizard was able to answer, "Okay, ma'am, I'm able to realize the king's contest. I ask for your blessing, mother." The lizard turned out to have extraordinary supernatural powers. In less than a night, a large bridge has been created. His Majesty's palace and the palace on the other side of the river were finally able to reconnect. The monitor lizard is declared the winner of the king's contest. He has the right to marry one of the king's daughters. However, which of the seven daughters of the king is willing to marry him? Eldest daughter to sixth daughter expressed her refusal to marry the monitor lizard. "What about you, my youngest daughter? Do you also refuse to marry the lizard that won the contest?" asked the king. The youngest daughter immediately took the lizard's skin and burned it. Since then, the young man with a very handsome face was no longer able to transform himself into a lizard. The god's curse on him was destroyed, as the lizard's skin was burned by someone who was willing to marry him sincerely. The youngest daughter finally lived happily with her husband, who was very handsome and very powerful. Youngest princess's older sibling felt sorry for refusing to marry a monitor lizard, who turns out to be a prince with a very handsome face. So, the moral message from the Born Children's Story Collection, the story of Rasun Biawak, is that a person who is sincere and grateful in receiving something will get profit and happiness in the future.